Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is an RPG you absolutely need to buy on day one. This is an adventure we're all gonna want to experience unspoiled. I had a chance to play a 4-hour demo, diving deep into its combat, exploring its breathtaking world, and getting a glimpse of its eerie narrative. If the full game maintains the level of quality that I've seen in this preview, it really has a chance to go down as one of the greats, one of those turn-based RPGs that we hold in a very high regard and we recommend to everyone that wants to get into the genre. Now, what truly stands out to me is the striking contrast between the game's angelic soundtrack and its stunning visuals, set against what I believe is going to be an extremely dark and haunting story. For those unfamiliar, let me give you a taste of what awaits for you in the world of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I was provided early access, but I'm not restricted in what I can say about the game, but I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to everyone over at Sandfall Interactive and Kepler Interactive for giving me a chance to preview this game early. Once a year, an entity known as the Paintress awakens and paints a number in the sky corresponding to an age. Individuals who have reached that age turn to ash, and this cycle is leading humanity towards extinction. As the Paintress prepares to mark the number 33, with only 1 year left to live, Expedition 33 embarks on an adventure to attempt to kill the Paintress and end this cycle of death and save humanity. Now, I believe the Paintress is marking the numbers and starting down and decreasing in age every year, so we're at number 33. And what that means is that there have been several expeditions who've went out before and attempted this same exact mission. Now, in order for you to achieve success on Expedition 33, you're going to need to follow in the footsteps of those previous expeditions, and we're going to be learning about how they met their end and seeing what we can take from that to continue progressing and moving forward to save humanity. I feel like it also would be extremely criminal to not mention how beautiful and lush this world looks. Like, everything just feels so alive, and as you look into the distance, no matter where you are, it just looks incredible. Like, I can't believe it. Everyone talks about how Xenoblade looks amazing when you peer off into the distance, but this takes things to an insanely different level. Now, aside from this little preview, I'm pretty much going in blind as well, because once I saw this game, I knew that I was going to play, and I stayed away from all trailers because I wanted to go in and experience it fully blind. So I'm not going to dive crazy deep into what I saw in the demo in terms of the story preview, just in case you fall in that same boat. So we're going to go ahead and move into the combat and the gameplay side of things. Okay, let's start with the basics of combat, and every character is going to have unique mechanics that separate them from the party. But before we get into those, let's start with the few basic things that apply to everybody. Obviously, we have our HP, but instead of your traditional mana bar, we're going to have an AP bar, which you're going to have to use to consume to activate skills. Every character is going to have an option between several skills, but you can only have 6 wielded at once. Right now, I just have 4 because I kind of ran through the demo to get this video out right now, but I believe this is going to go up to 6, and each ability is going to have a varying amount of AP that they can use. Now, in order to recover AP, you're going to be able to do this by just doing the basic attack. You're going to see at the top left, you're going to be able to recover 1 AP, or parrying abilities. And parrying is something that we're going to get into a little bit later, but this is what keeps combat very, very challenging. The other option we have is going to be to shoot. And so these are going to be useful against things like flying enemies, or for instance, this enemy right here, we can see has 2 shields on him. So I'm going to have to shoot him twice before I can actually do any type of damage. And you can see you have unlimited shots based on however much AP you have. So I had 5 AP, I shot him twice, now I have 3 to still use my skills. Shooting does not take your turn. As long as you have AP, you can still attack or execute different skills to use your AP. Now, you're gonna have 3 different mechanics that you're gonna do defensively that are gonna be reaction based. You're gonna have dodging, which is going to be the easiest because it gives you the most amount of room for failure, but when you dodge, you don't get AP back. Now, if you parry, you're gonna have a smaller window to execute a parry, but if you do parry, you're going to be able to recover AP. I believe it's just 1, but there are other ways for you to cover more AP by parries that we'll get into a little bit later. But parrying is also going to allow you to dish out counterattacks, so you're going to be able to do damage on the defensive and regain AP. So I think parrying is going to be a very important mechanic when it comes to actually being able to clear the content, because if you just sit there and try and face tank all these abilities, you're gonna have a very hard time unless that's something that changes with the full version and you can get over leveled and somehow everything becomes easier. I had to dodge and actually parry to make my way through this demo at least. And then the final option you're gonna have is going to be jumping. And jumping is relatively easy because they have the icon here that lets you know you have to jump. And then once you do jump, you can just hit R2 to dish out additional damage. Now this 3-button system really keeps you on your toes because you're gonna have to decide if you want to dodge, if you have enough time to parry, and you actually know and are able to predict the enemy's movements, or if you have to jump, because if you attempt to dodge and parry those, you're gonna take damage. Now, when it comes to using abilities, a big thing that caught a lot of people's attention when it came to Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the QTE events that happen when you do it. You obviously are gonna be able to dish out more damage if you hit these right, but if you are someone that doesn't have great reaction time, there's actually a setting where you can set it to auto so you don't have to worry about that. Now the game is still very twitchy and interactive because you have to manage the defensive mechanics that we just discussed, but I feel like this kind of makes it to where it tones the game down and it sets that to auto so you can just focus on trying to master your parrying and getting your dodges right. But obviously if you want to dish out max damage, you're probably going to want to do these manually so you can make sure that you get it on perfect every time instead of auto. Now let's discuss the character specific mechanics for the 3 characters we have available in the demo. Now let's start with the character specific mechanics for Mael, who is my personal favorite just because of how much damage she deals and how cool her character gimmick is. So she's going to be a stance based character where she has her offensive stance where she's going to deal 50% more damage, but she's also going to take 50% more damage. She has her defensive stance where she's going to take reduced damage, and I believe she also gains additional AP if she performs a parry. And then we have her virtuose stance where she's going to deal 200% more damage, and you're going to have to kind of effectively manage shifting between those stances to maximize the benefits. You ideally don't want her to be stanceless. And a really cool thing about this game is that there's a lot of inter-party synergy that can maximize damage. So in her kit, she can apply burn, which her spark ability, which is the bottom one, but we can also then do swift stride, and that's going to allow you to switch to the virtuose stance and then regain 2 AP. But we don't have to apply that burn with her. The same thing goes for her square ability, where we deal increased damage if the enemy is marked. We can actually mark the enemy with other characters, so there's that inner synergy even within the kits of the different characters. So I'm going to do this attack and it's going to swap stances. And so next turn when she comes up, she's going to be able to do that increased damage. Next up, we have Lune, and she's going to have her character specific abilities revolving around something called stains. And on the right side, you can see that casting skills generate stains, and some skills can consume those stains to become more powerful. So in her kit, we can see that her Ice Lance, if I perform the Ice Lance, I'm going to dish out ice damage, but I'm also going to generate an ice stain and a light stain. And if I were to have a earth stain, this ability would consume that earth stain to dish out more damage. So if I were to do Ice Lance this turn and get those 2 additional stains, when I come back for my next turn, if I were to do Immolation, which is her triangle ability, it's going to consume that ice stain to deal additional damage and make that ability even stronger. And then once it's finished with that, we see on the top right corner of the ability, it's going to generate a fire stain and a light stain. Now, a unique thing about the light stain is that they can be consumed and be manipulated to be any type of elemental stain. So I can consume it and it can count as earth, fire, wind, or ice, etc. So you can kind of revolve your kit as you equip different abilities and build out your characters with the abilities available, which I'll show you a little bit later, to flow into the synergies of the character specific playstyles. And so lastly, we have the main character, Gustave, and his kit is going to revolve around overcharge. So on the right side, we can see that he's going to deal more damage with overcharge, and you can charge Gustave's arm by dealing damage, dodging, and parrying. And we see right now we have 3 stacks out of 10. Some of them are going to scale based off the amount of charge that I have, like you can see with my square ability. So if I have this maxed out at 10, it's going to do significantly more damage than if I have none or just 1. Okay, now let's get into some of the specifics when it comes to customizing the characters. But if we hop into a specific character, I will show you we have the different customization. So these, I believe, are the costumes that are going to come with each character for the DLC. but you do have some variety in terms of how you want to have your character dressed, and those are going to persist with all of the characters. And then they also have different haircuts for you. So I'll just siphon through all of them so that way you can see what they look like on each character. But if we pop back to the menu, these are going to be where you're going to spend a lot of your time customizing things. So we have your weapons, which is going to work like you would expect, but they're going to gain different abilities as they level up, and you invest into them to make them stronger. Next up, we have Pictos, which you can kind of view similar to armor, but they don't really call it armor in this game. But you're going to be able to equip Pictos, and they're going to give you different abilities as well as stats. So we can see Dead Energy 2 here at level 1 is going to give me 4 speed, 9% critical rate, and the passive ability to gain 3 AP on killing an enemy. Now, another customization option on the right, you can see Edit Luminous. I'm going to click this, and this is going to allow me to equip other things that are going to give me passive abilities. They're not necessarily going to give me the buffs that we saw on the Pictos, but those same Pictos. So we can see right here on Gustave, we have Dead Energy 2. So I don't have it equipped as a Pictos, but I can still get the passive ability, which is plus 3 AP on killing an enemy if I equip it as a Luminous. Now, the big difference is that at the bottom, you can see we have Luminous points. So I have 5, and I can use 2 Luminous points to equip Dead Energy 2, and then I would have 3. So I'm going to go ahead and toss on Marking Shot as well. Now I have 0. So I can equip Pictos that are equipped to other people to get their passive abilities, but those are going to be equipped as Luminous, and they're actually going to have points, and that's going to be a limiting factor on which ones you can equip. But with the Pictos, there is no limiting factor. You can just equip them, but you can only have them equipped here with one character. Everyone else is going to have to use Luminous points. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but you're going to be able to have the option to equip up to 6 different skills. Right now, I only have 4 learned, but if you come to one of these save points, which is going to be right here, this is going to be where you can learn different skills and upgrade your abilities. So you get skill points as you level up. I just wanted to read all the abilities before I started unlocking things, which is why I don't have a lot. But we can see that however I choose to customize my character, I can build out the different skill points as long as I have the points to unlock them. I want to get into the nitty gritty so that way I can start making guides for you guys in the future. So that way we're prepared come launch. And then I'll obviously verify to make sure things don't change. And then like other JRPGs, you have the ability to customize the different attributes. So you have Vitality, Might, Agility, Defense, and Luck. You get the point. I don't need to explain basic JRPG crap to you. So this is going to be the song you hear when you first boot up the game. Like, just listen to this, man. Like, come on. It's not fair. Like, oh my God, this is so angelic. You guys know how I feel about the singing. Oh man, it's not fair. Now, something I thought was really funny is that if you run into a merchant, they're gonna sell you things, but in order to unlock their secret stash, you have to show them and prove to them your worth by beating them in a battle. They really said, if you want what I got, you're gonna have to take it from me. And hey, I can respect it. But these are gonna conclude my thoughts on Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is easily gonna be a day 1 purchase for me, and I think should be a day 1 purchase for you. Once again, thank you Sandfall and Kepler Interactive for allowing me to preview the game early. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below, and I'll attempt to answer them as best as I can. But thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the next one.